Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Tuesday, March 18th edition of our video devotionals, and thank you so much for joining us today. Hope your Tuesday's going well. We are in Newport, North Carolina, doing this devotion actually in my vehicle, and in just a little bit, I'll be doing my shift, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. for the spring share-a-thon for FBN Radio. And if you're interested in that, if you'll go to fbnradio.com, it'll kind of explain some things. You're able to give from that point, or you can help give by calling in. And it would be great if some of you that will be listening to this video today would call in sometime during my shift between 3 and 7 p.m. and say, I heard Brother Wall, and he announced this over his daily devotional, and I'd like to give a pledge. And it could be anything. It can be as little as $1. But basically the way it works is when you call in, someone's going to take your name and address. You don't give any financial information. You don't have to give anything then. Basically, they're just looking to send you a self-addressed envelope so that sometime between now and 6 months, you can turn in your pledge for a wonderful radio station that reaches around the world. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful work of God. And so the numbers are 252-223-4600. So that won't be long distance at all. So I'm going to give you that number. There's also a landline number, and I'm afraid if I tell you, it might be the wrong number. I think it's 1-800-245-9685. We say it so many times we have in our head, but I know the first one is from any cell phone, of course, 252-223-4600. If you'll call that number, and I'm going to ask you to call sometime between 3 and 7 p.m. and say, look, this is my pledge. I like to do this. And you can even mention that you heard me mention it here on our on this devotional. That's up to you. You pray about it. If the Lord doesn't impress you to do it, then certainly don't do it. But it's a wonderful work. But go to fbnradio.com. You can actually hear the broadcast ongoing, and you can hear me and the other preachers that are on there trying to raise the funds, okay? Well, let me give you something here from the book of Judges in chapter 7. I'm going to begin at verse 9. So this is basically the story of Gideon, and he's right before going to lead his 300 men that God has basically moved down from 32,000 to 300. Imagine that. That's about, I believe, somewhere around 1%, maybe just a tad over 1%. Imagine that if an army, and you said, man, we need to trim our army down. Well, you can see maybe 10%, maybe there's 10% there that just for some reason doesn't fit. But how about trimming an army down from 32,300? Well, that's what happened. I want you to notice here, it says in verse 9, and it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, the him there is the Gideon, arise, get thee down into the host, for I have delivered it into thine hand. But if thou fear to go down with Phurah thy servant down to the host, and thou shalt hear what they say, and afterward shall thine hands be strengthened to go down into the host. Then went he down with Phurah his servant unto the outside of the armed men that were in the host. And the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along in the valley like grasshoppers for multitude, and their camels were without number as the sand by the seaside for multitude. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came unto a tent, and smote it that it fell, and overturned it that the tent lay along. And his servant answered and said, this is nothing else save the sword of Gideon, the son of Joash, a man of Israel, for into his hand hath God delivered Midian and all the hosts. What an incredible story. Here's Gideon. He's being told to go down. If you're afraid, take your servant Phurah with you. Go down there, and I want you to listen. There's going to be two soldiers that's going to be speaking between themselves, and they're literally going to tell the prophecy that into the hand hath God delivered Midian and all the hosts. Isn't that something? So here's the thing. God told him, go down, and he says, and if you're afraid, go down and take Phurah thy servant. So number one, isn't it great to have people around you that encourage you and help you, especially when you're a little bit low in faith perhaps, or you're afraid? So Phurah was to go, and then God knew that Gideon would overhear this conversation, and he says, afterward shall thine hands be strengthened to go down into the host. So that's exactly what happens. Gideon gets strengthened. He's ready for this battle, a miraculous battle, of course. But God used Phurah the servant And God used two men just kind of speaking between themselves so that Gideon would overhear that, and then he would say, man, look what God's going to do for us. So try to find people around you that encourage you and help you go forward for God, not backward. People that encourage you to go forward in faith and not in fear. And I think that's important. I think God has people of that for you. In fact, it was God who selected Phurah, a man that's probably the only time he's mentioned in all the Bible. But Gideon was to take him and then go down and overhear a conversation, and that strengthened him so that the battle that they would win would be certainly something that would be of great consequence for the people of Israel. So again, maybe we've got our Phurahs around us. Maybe it's your spouse. Maybe it's just somebody in your church. Whoever it is, thank God for people that will go with you, and God leads you into situations in which you'll hear, and you're going to have great faith to go forward and do that which you can for God. Well, that's all I have for you today. I'm getting ready to go in here in just a little bit here and do my shift. If you want to call in a pledge, that would be great. If you just want to call in and say, I'm praying for the guys on the mics right now, that God will use them to help the funds to come in, whatever it is. We appreciate you, and Lord willing, we'll see you back tomorrow. We'll be back in Archdale. We'll leave tonight after our 7 p.m. shift, and tomorrow we'll be back in Archdale or maybe in my office there in High Point. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.